Alright, and welcome to the 18th letter in the series. I can't believe we're that far on. This is for a majuscule of R. Today I'm using a Leonard Principal EF nib in an oblique holder and my trusty watercolour ink. I'm going to start with my universal line of beauty. If you've watched my other videos, you don't need any introduction to this, but my X height is 5mm, so my majuscule is 15mm tall. And my middle third is on my slant line as much as I can possibly do. I did have a question recently about being able to do, backwards loops, backwards universal lines of beauty, that they're quite a challenge, and they are. Sorry, I'm getting notifications from other things and it's throwing off my camera focus. There we go. But if that's you and you're struggling with the backwards things, then there is no reason why we can't just start at the top and do one side then the other side. You're just gonna have to be very careful with where you're applying your pressure. Just gonna put a tissue down because it is very, very humid today and I don't want the oils from my hands getting on my paper. So if I say, right, my loop is gonna start at this point, this is gonna be the apex of that loop, and I'm just going to take it straight to the 1.5 line right here. I'll finish that off later. And then everything else can go like that. Okay. Now, you can then go from here and do whatever it is you want to do over there. Okay. Move this over a tad. We can also flourish down here if you want. Because I've put a loop up here, I'm not quite feeling the need to flourish massively, so I'll just put a terminus dot there. Okie dokie. So to sort of go through and talk about what to balance, what to think about, it's very hard to do when I'm writing. I wish I could do it at the same time, but it's just not feasible, unfortunately. But with an R, you've obviously got a few different bits. So if we start over here and I do it in monolines, so we've got our universal line of beauty, that's somewhere here. I can put this over here. There we go. So this is my universal line of beauty, with a flourishable area over here if we need it. I will point that out right here. Put flourish here, that'll do. Right, then you can start at the 12 o'clock, which is normally a little bit just off from your universal line of beauty, so that that oval can swing to the right. So if I put right here, am I still in frame there? I am now, there we go. So can start at 12 o'clock. Which will help with the backwards parts. So I do have, in my R, I have a few contained ovals in here, and they should be roughly equal. So obviously I've got a 1 right here. That's an easy one. I've also got one which is somewhere here, so that I've got another one which goes all the way over. I've also got a larger one somewhere here. I don't really want to put that in because I feel like your flourishing can change that one. It depends what you want to do at the bottom. But I've also got one contained in here, like that. Okay, whatever this oval is should be equal to whatever this oval is. So those should be equal, because you're effectively doing a basic stroke of a compound turn, which is a very common ligature, So if you're going, I mean, if I do this a little bit bigger, maybe that'll be a bit easier. So we're going to go up, down and up. So we're going to stay along the slant line as much as possible. So the slant line is right here, and right here. So if you cut the curves off, I should probably do that with like a Post-it or something. Let me go grab some. Okay, just got a couple right here. So if you cut off the top and bottom, you should have 3 roughly parallel lines. You can always check that. I do quite frequently. But you should also have an equal amount of space in between your up and down areas. It's the same deal down here. Okay, so we have also, if I, oh, how am I going to explain that here? So if I go, because it's going to go from about the 1.5 lip line, like that. That becomes your entry stroke to your next letter. So I'll put a rest of a word in here, but I just need to make the point here, especially if you're taking notes along with me. I know a few people do that. That your negative space can just about in frame there. I can move it up a little bit. So negative space under equals negative space over. And hopefully that'll explain it and be enough to remind you of what's happening. So I quite like doing the backwards things. I think it's probably just because I've had a lot of practice at it, but if you want to start from 12 o'clock and do your half oval and then continue from there, then you absolutely can. That's not a problem. It should end in here. Oh, I don't have space to make that over there, so I'll do it over here. So this point is 1.5 times the X height. I think I'm still in frame of my arm. Yeah, so you can see that's the top of my 5 mil. That's my 10, that's my 15. So I'm trying to get it bang smack in the middle of my middle section. Okay, I can use the bottom here to flourish, which I mentioned before, but we need to make sure that the flourishing is still making sense. It's still bisecting where possible. You can see I've just made that where this line is then bisecting. I need like I keep doing this in the coloured pen and then I need to get another coloured pen and it's just not good. I'll have to use a pencil for now. Right, so in here you've got this little area which needs to cross as close to 90 degrees. I've called it an Xbox logo before, which it kind of is. Closest you can get to it being even, the better. I've got a lot of space right here, which I'm not super happy about. It feels like potentially I could have curved that back under, which would have been fine, and it actually looks more balanced that way. So if I do that in the pen really quick, and I'll show you why. So we know that whatever I'm going on to do, I mean, I can, sure. If I was going on to do the word red, okay, I would know that my contained oval right here, this oval is what dictates a lot of your spacing. So whether you're just doing a capital or whether you're doing a word, that oval that you draw on your on your lowercase is what dictates a lot of spacing in your capitals. So you can see I've roughly got that oval again in here. Roughly again, width-wise, I've got it in here. Because obviously those spaces are meant to be the same. I've tried to get the width in here, roughly. I think I'm a little bit small, but never mind. I've also got it here, width-wise. Yes, that's why it kind of looks a little bit more balanced. I've also got it down here width-wise. I'm just trying to keep that width wherever I can. The more that you can sort of replicate that, the more logical your letters are going to look. Okay. I think it would make more sense if I did it in ink right here. Forgot my, what have I done with my coloured pen? Oh, there it is. Okay. So ours are very, very flourishable. It has a lot of flourishable areas. The only bit that is your legibility box, I actually don't think I can do this in the coloured pen, there we go. Your legibility box is just this section right here. Yeah, so this is your legibility box within this square. Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, I've seen bottoms of these that loop back, these that drop down lower, this that goes on a wild journey to the left. I've seen people extend this up to then flourish later on if they don't have any ascenders. There is a lot of flourishing that can be done with an R, which is very helpful. R's tend to come up a lot. I'm never really sure why, but beyond M's, which are the most common, especially if you're doing envelope addressing, R's are really common to come across as a capital letter. So if we do a couple of examples of words, here we go. There, so I'm in frame there. Ooh. What has happened here? Let me just drag that down and up. That's far too thick. I don't think I can do anything with that. I'll do it again. I'll move it over. I think I've had too much ink on my nib. Better. I can feel the control a little bit better there. Okay. Okay. So, I've got my universal line of beauty. I don't quite know what's going on with never mind. Okay, so then I can start at the 12 o'clock if I want to and just do my half oval. That takes me to about the halfway point. It is worth noting you can either do a loop like I've done. So up here, you can see if I zoom in a lot here, there we go. You can see I've done the tiniest of little loops, so it looks like it's one big line, and you can do it in one big line if you prefer, or you can leave it as just a plain stroke. Like that. Don't know what's going on with my nib at the moment. I think maybe I've got some ink in it, but like stuck in it, and that's causing it to be a bit odd, but it might also be my writing angle because I'm at a bit of a strange one because of the camera, but never mind. Okay, so what will I go here? I've got a space to bisect right here, like that. Could put that there. Okay, so then you can see, I mean, I've got a lot of space over here. If I've got a lot of space over here, I could zip that back over. I don't particularly want to. I think it'll be a bit much. Or I could just continue that line a tiny little bit. It's really up to you what you want to do with an R. But you can see I'm trying to keep the same rough thickness around everywhere. In case, oh, I was doing words, wasn't I? This is why I shouldn't shoot early in the morning. I get far too much excitement and lose my focus. Okay, so then you can see in the word red that my O width, or my oval width, I'm trying to keep as consistent as possible. Obviously I'm just eyeballing, but if I just clean that nib off really quickly, because I'm suspicious that I haven't cleaned it properly, and that's why it's behaving all strange. But you can see I've tried to keep the same distance inside this O as I have under here, as I have here. My E should also be a contained oval. So if that was a totally complete oval right here, then that would be the same width, if that makes any sense. So it's always the same, and I'm trying to keep the same here, the same here, the same here, just wherever I can throughout. And that's what's going to make it look deliberate and put together. Alrighty, I think that is about it for an R. I'll do something with a descender, and we can talk about what we can do with that. Oh. What's going on? Okay, that's a bit better. Right, remove my ink bottle over there so I'm not going to hit it by accident. Happens to us all, really. Alright, so I'm kind of here somewhere. Much better. Okay, so I've got that right here. Actually way off the slant line, aren't I? I might do that again. I am at a weird angle for writing due the camera, but I'm usually a bit more adaptable than this. There we go. Better. Okay, better every time. That's doing the job, isn't it? Okay, so then I can I think I've swung that a little wide. Okay, so we'll deal with this in a second. So I've just got a descender in here with the word ray. So I can loop that back down. I'll finish that in a sec. So I can loop this and continue it on. So I could loop that this way. Obviously trying to cross at 90 degrees across here as much as possible. It does leave a very big gap here, and obviously there's nothing up here to balance the word in total. That's why an R is so good. you can flourish a lot of different places on it. So I could drop that lower and have a flourish in there if I needed. If I needed to fill space, I could also move that over if I needed. I don't think it was needed here, but some people like busier flourishing than others. We could also take this up and fill in that little space right there. We could also take the Y up if needed. I wouldn't do all of these because it just starts to get a little bit much, but we can extend the Y if we need to. We can extend the R across. Because you've got a line of universal beauty, I wouldn't extend it that way unless you're extending the whole thing, which means even at the top your universal line of beauty is actually going horizontal, so your flourishes are going to have to go horizontal. At the bottom I've extended the line straight down, but my flourish does start horizontal. Okay, so don't get caught in the trap of keeping everything straight, because it'll look as if your R is not finished. Yeah. Okay. And then I could, I don't know, do something fun over here. Loop that back in. Could loop it back out, go back into that, whatever, you know, you can keep going forever if you plan it properly. But that's the long and short of an R, and how to balance a word, options for flourishing on an R as well. But that's about as much as an R needs, and I think that's more than enough to get on with. But if you've got any questions or any strange words that begin with an R or whatever, then feel free to comment below and I'll do my best to help.